Jess, I am so beyond excited to have you today. Thank you so much for being with me.
Literally my joy. Thank you so much for having me.
This is so fun. I was telling you before we hit record, I get excited about every conversation I have on the show, but there are books that just mean so much like to your story, and you have the opportunity to read them before you have the conversation. This was one that just really meant a lot to me. Here's what you need to know. I read the entire book on a flight. I just devoured it a couple of months ago when I first got it. And you know that moment when you're on a flight and the wheels lock, you've landed, and there's that panic moment for everybody of like, do I get up and rush and try to get out and it just becomes like so stressful for everybody in the situation. Okay. So I'm in the back of the plane and I'm holding the book because everything else is just, I've got the backpack, all the things. And this girl to my left looks at me and she kind of looks at the book and she finally looks at me and she goes, "So what are you reading?" And I was like, "Can I tell you about it?" And I was like ready to go run some laps. And so I was like, "Listen, your body is good. Your body is not a project. I have 5 seconds to tell you what God did in me through this book." And it was a really sweet moment. So I devoured it and I'm so excited to talk about it today and have you. So this is the best.
I'm so grateful to hear it. Also, I love Full Circle because if you've read the book, then I think I talk about this in the book, that I started writing it on an airplane.
Yeah.
And was having one of those moments where it's like out of a movie because the flight attendant's like, "Please shut down your laptop." And I was like, "I can't right now. Like, I can't shut my laptop. I love you. I honor your work, but give me a minute."
Yeah. That's when you like switch to your iPhone notes app on your phone and you keep going. Yeah. That's awesome. I love it so much.
Full circle.
That really is full circle. I hadn't thought about that. I love that. One of the things at the very beginning that you kind of establish with the readers is that you want the book to be a brave space. I love that language that you use. So I want to start there. Like, why was that verbiage important to you?
Yeah. Well, I first heard that phrase from Latasha Morrison. And actually, I was interviewing her for a podcast, and I don't think she coined the phrase, but she was the first person I heard say it. And I was interviewing for her for a podcast. And I think I said something like, "Okay, this is a safe space, Tasha. What do you think about this?" And she said, "Just FYI, like, this isn't a safe space." And she said, something along the lines of like, "I'm continually growing. I'm hoping you're continually growing. So we don't really want to like stay safe. We don't want to." And as soon as she said that, everything in my soul woke up and I was like, right. I don't want my soul to stay like culturally safe to where I never experience a little bit of risk or adventure. I want to be brave. I want to move into places where I haven't been before. And I think that as readers, as people who read books in general or consume content in any way, shape, or form, whether it's podcasts or books or even like the TV shows we watch, there's this phenomenon where I think a lot of times we can kind of get in a rut of really like reading the thing that we already agree with, right? Or like listening to the podcast that we already agree with. And sometimes that's helpful. It solidifies what we think, or it gives us language, or it enables us to share it with someone. But I knew going into this that even as I was writing it, like as I was studying and researching and looking at God's word, I was like, a lot of this, no one's been telling me this. No one's been telling people this. This isn't like, and I don't say that like, I've got the corner on this. I'm the only one talking about it. It's not something people have touched a lot or talked about a lot. And so I knew we were going to all need a little bravery. I knew I was going to need a little bravery. But yeah, I think the one thing I want to say about it being a brave space as opposed to being a safe space is, I think my most unfavorite phrase is the phrase fearless leader. I actually hate it when people say it like, "Oh, she's a fearless leader. He's a fearless leader." Oh, I actually don't want anything to do with a fearless leader. If there's a leader who doesn't have fear, if there's even a human who doesn't experience fear, like there's probably something psychologically wrong with them, because when things matter, they're scary, terrifying. When we care about something, it matters. And so that being said, we can't experience bravery until we feel scared. We can't even access courage until we're scared. And so I know there are a lot of women who are maybe scared to talk about body image or what God says about it, or to dip their toe into this water, or try to figure out what it looks like to dismantle culture's hold on our hearts in this way. But I would say, number one, great news. You can't even be brave until you're scared. So it's okay if you're scared, you're in the right spot. And also, yeah, we don't want to be safe. We don't want to come out of this life only having this one like tidy perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. So at the very kind of jump street of the book, you chronicle this story from your childhood that I think a lot of women, I mean, I'm including myself in this camp, probably identify with to some degree. I think a lot of us have a similar story of where we experienced shame over our bodies, maybe for the first time, or we maybe remember one of those moments. And you share about this idea of like living in the now and not yet. I want you to talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, this is really the crux of talking about body image when it comes, as believers, is that we have to identify, okay, there was an original design. There was a good part. There's a really good part of the story.
So good.
It was really wonderful. And that was when God made our bodies and he called them good. He originally made creation and called them good. And I believe the same thing applies to us, even though we were maybe born, obviously not maybe born, definitely born after the entry of sin into the world, because God just doesn't make bad things. He can't make bad things. He can't make flawed things. He can't be a good and holy and perfect God and make bad things. And so there was this good start for all of us. And then there was the world. And so we're now in this kind of tense part where our bodies break and our bodies age and our bodies get injured. And they're born with genetic deficiencies or differences. And so here we sit in this tension. And I think as humans, we're kind of constantly trying to figure out, what does this mean? What does this tension mean? What does this pain mean? What's the purpose behind it? And what does God think about it for those of us who believe in God? And what does it mean about our bodies? And so there's all sorts of different, body image theories. There's body positivity right now, which is a movement that has done such good and is gaining just wild momentum, has been really for the last 70 years. This idea like your body is good. It's just good, period. But where I believe that where body positivity kind of lacks in depth is this area for us as believers that we're like, my body is good, but also it feels weak.
Yeah.
And also it feels pain. And I need to know what God says about that. I need to know what he feels about that. I think back to like the passage in Matthew when people bring a man to Jesus who's blind and they're like, whose fault was this? What happened here? We want to know what God says about that. So we live, doctrine tells us that we live in the now and not yet of the kingdom. There are some things that we have access to. There are some kingdom things that we have access to by grace through faith. And also there's some not yet to it, in that our bodies are not yet made whole. Our bodies are not yet restored. Not every tear has been wiped away from our eyes just yet. We live in this tension of being human. And for me, the idea of the now and not yet reality of my body actually brings me a lot of comfort. I can live with this firm truth of how he created me is good. I can live with this future redemption in mind. He's going to wipe away every tear. But I also live with this tension of, also, not everything's okay right now. And that grieves God. He's sad for me about that.
Yeah. That's so good. And like, we can talk to him about it. And like, we can have conversations with him about it. And I mean, how long have we, like you said in the very beginning, have we just ignored it, or we've went to like that opposite extreme of body positivity where we just totally ignore our brokenness, right? Like, which is leaving out a huge part of like some pretty important theology. But like we can talk about it, and we can ask God what he thinks about our bodies, and we can search scripture for that. And that's so good. So good. One of the things, I pulled a couple of quotes that I loved from the book. One of them is so powerful. So you say, in the kingdom, you are not the one naming your body good. It is not your thought repeated over and over again until you believe yourself. You're taking your cues and following the Father who created the universe. The deafening roar of the Lion of Judah is breaking chains of shame, darkness, and defeat with this proclamation of protection over his beloved. This is my daughter. I made her body good in my image. Let no one say otherwise. Her body is good. So if somebody is listening today and they're like, okay, yeah, Jess, okay, yeah, Rebecca, this all sounds great, but like I'm at the rock bottom starting place of like, I want to experience the freedom, but I just like don't even know where to turn. I don't even know where to start. Like, how would you want to encourage her?
That's such a good question. And I love that quote because it's the part of the answer. The first thing I would tell her, if we're just talking encouragement, I would say like, here's the great news. You don't have to be the strongest one in the room. If you're at rock bottom, you experiencing freedom is absolutely not dependent on you.
Yeah. You
don't have to muster it up. You don't have to work for it. There is a reason why there's not 12 steps in this book. I'm not saying it won't take time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it won't take intention.
Yeah.
The deafening roar of the Lion of Judah is crying over your life and your body. This is good. This is my daughter. Leave her alone. And I do believe that when we start to tune our ear to that roar and we start to realize like, this is God's fight. This is his idea. This is like, I keep telling women all the time, I'm like, you have to remember, like, freedom is his idea. Not only is it his idea, he financed it. He purchased it on the cross of Christ. Like, he is going to do the heavy lifting. He is going to be the strongest one in the room. There's going to be some learning for us that takes place, some swapping out of truth. There may be some ways we change our behavior, that we worship different, just to agree with what he's done. But it's okay if you feel like you're at rock bottom. You do not have to climb up. You do not have to climb out of that pit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so one of the pieces that I think was most convicting to me was this idea of just the quest for a better body. I am an achiever personality, always have been. And so before I got married a couple years ago. I was in this long season of singleness, and I had always been a runner, but I ran several marathons during that season. And I remember when I trained for my first marathon, and it was all about like, oh, I just want to cross that finish line. I just want to reach that goal. And I can't wait to experience that and see what that feels like in my body. And I almost tried to convince myself, like, if I just have the goal, then it no longer is about my body, it's about the goal. And so it worked for a while, and I did the marathon, but the problem was I would cross the finish line and it was never enough. And so I'd sign up for another marathon, and I would train even harder. I would get up even earlier, and I would do more. I would add more mileage. I would drink more water. Everything that I could possibly do to get faster, because I didn't have anything else that was really tying up, the time and attention that would go towards a family or kids or whatever. I was discipling college girls in an SEC town and running marathons. Like, that was my life. But when I read this chapter, it really, really just brought back a lot of that for me. So the quest for a better body, you say, this is one of my favorite quotes. We can pull, pluck, squat, detox, wear the Spanx, drink the water, take the vitamins, use the supplements, slather the potions, do the yoga, wash our faces till our heart's content. But hear me, as long as you remain convinced that your body is your responsibility alone to fix, your heart will not be content. And so that was one of the pieces that was super convicting to me. So for somebody who is coming to this conversation today as an achiever, which I know a lot of our listeners are in the same camp, like, what do you want to speak over that girl?
Well, I'll tell you this. Here's one thing. I want to free you up right now, because even what you just said, not that you need to get free, but you know what I'm saying? I want to even just give some encouragement for you. When you just said, because I didn't have anything else going on, like I was just discipling women, I didn't have kids, and like, you got free from that striving because God's mighty in you, and because you're so free. And women who have kids, and 18 of them or 12 or 2, and have full-time jobs, get tripped up by striving. So it is like I just want to even just encourage you like that. Listen, I've got 4 kids, and I can get wrapped up in some striving about a half marathon super quick. And I'll even just be vulnerable, because we're going to have this conversation a few weeks post book launch. as an author, like what I want to do is equip women. I want to equip and encourage women. That's all I want to do with my whole life. And yet around book launch, you just get a little tripped up with like the numbers and the people and did we hit this list or that list? And I had a moment with my team on book launch day where the numbers that we typically watch coming in for book launch weren't happening. It was a weird day. It was Amazon Prime Day. So Amazon was being funky. And we were like, oh, this is just interesting. Like the things we usually watch aren't working. And we were all kind of like getting tripped up about it a little bbit. And our office happens to be here at my church. And so I was like, that's it. We're going to the sanctuary. I was like, we're all going to the sanctuary. I was like, we're just going to talk to God. And I just had to say out loud, I had to repent. I said, God, you did not set me free from one scale to make me the slave of another. I do not care how this book goes. I do not care what it list it hits. I don't care. It's never on Amazon. Like, you did not set me free from one scale to make me subject to another. In Jesus' name, I'm sorry. Let's move on. And I say like, it's just our nature. Like we get tripped up. We just get tripped up sometimes, and it happens. And so the most beautiful thing I think we can say to one another is we can ask this question. And I'll tell you, this is my spiritual gift. I think my spiritual gift is saying like, really, like cocking my head to the side and like, saying like, really, when people ask something, because I think a lot of times when we talk about goals, we could talk about a fitness goal. We could talk about crossing the finish line a certain time. We could talk about hitting a certain number on the scale. We could talk about being a certain size, or we could talk about, actual goals, like making a certain amount of money or having a certain amount of kids or getting some sort of accolade in your community. And there's this question that we ask ourselves when we say like, okay, well, how will you feel when that happens? How will you feel when that happens? And I think our human response is like, I'll feel like a success, or I'll feel like I've achieved something, or I'll feel like I worked hard, or I'll feel proud of myself. And again, I feel like my spiritual gift is a little bit to come alongside and say like, really?
Yeah.
Will you?
Yeah.
Will you for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Will you? Or will you feel like, all right, what's next? Let's conquer the next hill. Because this is what our souls do. And the reason why, it's not anybody's fault. It's not because the accolade is never enough. It's not because there's something wrong with us. It's just what our souls were made for. Our souls were not meant to be fulfilled by earthly longings and by earthly desires and earthly accolades. And so I think one of the best things that we can do is to look at one another and just say like, really, is that really what you want? Or is the enemy just massively tricking you into something? I've talked to a lot of women this summer, in particular with the book coming out and in light of vacations. I've talked to a lot of women who say like either, I've just been working really hard to get ready for my vacation, to get my body ready, or I'm really discouraged or defeated about my body. And so therefore I'm worried I'm not going to enjoy it. But in both conversations, the coolest thing I've been able to pull out of women and hear them say is the women who are like, I worked really hard and blah, 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 got whatever I felt like was going to feel great on vacation in my body. And so I've been able to say like, did it make your vacation better? Did it more fun? Did you rest harder? And every single one was like, no. And then I felt like I was worried I was going to gain weight back, or then I felt insecure the whole time because I wasn't working out as hard as I was before the vacation. I honestly was just obsessed with my own body. And even when it felt good, it was glorifying myself. And I know that's not what my soul's meant to do. And so then I didn't feel good, or it put a wedge between me and my friends because they were sick of me talking about it so much. And so I was like, yeah, it doesn't actually work. And then to the women who were worried they wouldn't enjoy their vacations, I would say like, did it actually make your day worse that your body wasn't what you hoped it would look like? Was the ice cream any less sweet? Was your kids' laughter any less like slightly annoying, but also fun? No, it doesn't. It doesn't actually change anything about your actual life, the way you experience God to a certain degree. Like how we feel about our looks doesn't have to affect that. Anyways, all that being said, that's the question I'm asking. Like, really, is it ever going to be enough? Yeah. Is it ever going to be enough? And the answer is probably not.
Yeah, I've never thought about it that way, but I can look back over my entire life and every season of striving that I've had. Like I said at the very beginning, it's never been enough for me. I've never reached a finish line. I've never tried on a swimsuit in a season where I've been striving for whatever and it felt like it still didn't feel like enough, right? It's proof of what you're just saying. I loved your post the other day. You saying the word ice cream made me think of this. When you talked about, like, can we stop talking about it being cheating and can we just call it freedom? Like, that was the best.
I mean, I tell you what, the things that your ears begin to pick up on when you like break free from body shame or write a book like this or read a book like this. And I'm sure you've heard it now too. Like once you read it, you all of a sudden hear like
everywhere.
We are talking about things real funky. Like, what did you just say? Yeah. And it seems so normal. It just seems so normal. I think that night in particular, I was on vacation with my kids and my husband, and we went to go order ice cream. And I had a thought of like, man, I'm glad. Thank you, God. I'm glad that my kids may have had really early memories or past memories of me being like, I'm good, guys. No, like, really, mom has some goals she's working on. You know, they may have some memories of that. I'm not shaming anyone who does that or feels that way. Just for me in this season, freedom looks like being like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy some ice cream with you guys, you crazy little kiddos. And that's what freedom feels like. And so I thought that while we were ordering ice cream that night, I think I commented to someone who was beside us in line and was like, this looks so good. I'm going to have to get 2 different flavors because these both look so good. And the woman standing in front of me was like, it'll be worth it though tomorrow when we have to work it off. And I was like, ew, wait, why? Like, why? Why is everything about checks and balances? I don't know. So I'm really hearing and noticing and cringing at the like cheat reward.
Yeah.
Like even the way we treat our bodies as if they're just this inanimate object far away from us that needs to be like poked, prodded,
managed.
Yeah. Rather than our actual selves, our actual bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, can both a scoop of ice cream and a 4-mile run on the beach without a Garmin watch on, like, can we just call them both freedom? Like,
can we yes, 100%. Or like, listen, wear your Garmin watch. Also, if freedom for you is like working on your splits, I say in Jesus' name. And that's what I tell women all the time. Like, it gets to be what yesterday a woman was like, so do you, when you see a fit woman now, do you just think that she just must be in bondage? And I was like, number one, what does fit mean? What do you mean when you say you see a fit woman? What does that mean? And I want to be like, listen, I think I'm fit. Like you, I think I'm going after God in my own body. You might not look at me and think that, but I'm living free. I'm doing what God's asked me to do. And so this is like the worst thing I think somebody could hear me saying is that like, it's up for us to judge who's being free and who's not. That couldn't be further from the truth. Freedom for some people might be wearing the Garmin watch. And for some people, it really might not be. Coolest thing is that we get to listen to God about what that is for us, what that looks like for us. But I harp on the ice cream thing just because it's so cultural to talk about it as if it's this dangerous thing that's just going to hold us back or throw us off or just totally mess us up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. You know, one of the other things that I think you did so beautifully to set people up in this area is the whole conversation at the end of the book about preparing responses before you get in the midst of a conversation that you don't know how to handle.
Yeah.
That was so powerful for me. I want people to get their hands on the book so they can really dig in and like pray through what that looks like for them. But like, why was that important to you?
Yeah, it was important for me because I think sometimes it's as simple as we just need a little bit of language. Like we can all agree on something spiritually, but we're not super sure how to say it. And I do think that when we change the language, we change the culture. And so part of what needs to happen for all of us to experience some cultural healing, some corporate healing and revival is that we need some like pauses to be like, hold on, this thing we're all saying, that's not it. We've got to stop saying that.
Yeah.
I would say an example is this. Another one as an example of this is I've told a handful of women this, like, okay, hey, if you want to do something today, if you want to change your language today, when you go out with your friends, or when you guys meet up, or you're at a women's ministry gathering, or you're at a church, or even your family, if you take a group picture, we have this cultural phenomenon where we all gather around the phone and say negative things about our body. And just say like, oh, my hair, or like, oh my gosh, my thighs, or like, look at my face in this one. Just don't do that. Just stop doing that.
Yeah.
And we'll change the world. And the reason why it matters is because language changes culture, and small little behaviors like that shift everything. And so the last thing I wanted was a bunch of women who were spiritually awake and ready for freedom, but just didn't have the tools to a little bit change the language. And
yeah,
it's unfortunately just so incredibly commonplace for women and men to talk negatively about each other's bodies, but it's apparently just widespread. I believe just a widespread problem that we talk negatively about our own bodies. So I even wanted to equip women to have language to encourage the people in their lives when they would speak negatively about their own bodies. Like, what do you do when your friend is just ravaging how she looks? And it's kind of making you uncomfortable and sad. I don't want to judge those women. I don't want to call them up. I don't want to call them out, but I do want to call them up to something new. So, yeah, all of that's in there. But my favorite one that I like to hand to everybody just right off the bat is that you can just say, that's interesting. That's interesting. If someone's talking negatively about their body and you don't want to be like, oh, no, you're wrong, don't say that. You can just say like, oh, okay, that's interesting. If someone's talking negatively about my body, I might be like, that's interesting. And if they dig in more, I can say like, it's interesting that you feel the freedom to comment on my body. Or it's interesting that you ascribe this value or that value to this thing or that thing. But I think the phrase that's interesting puts a little bubble between me and whoever's talking to just say like, I'm out of this.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to follow that trail. I don't think I'm going to like grab onto that rope and let it drag me somewhere.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay. You saying the story about looking back at the group pictures reminded me of a moment that you're going to be so proud. So I read the whole book on the plane, right? So back to that trip, I was going to Orlando for a trip for work. And there was a day that I had a few hours free one evening, and I couldn't talk anybody to go into going with me, but I went to SeaWorld because like I was in Orlando and the world is opening back up and I just needed to do something fun. And so I went by myself, which it was the best. Like, have you ever been to an amusement park by yourself? It was the most fun.
I want to do it right now.
Of my life.
So fun.
It was so fun. And so I got there, and what you need to know about me also is my favorite animal as a child was dolphins. Like, I had a dolphin room. Okay. I wanted to be a dolphin trainer when I grew up. This was before all the stuff that happened with, we all know the story about the dolphin trainer and all that. It was before all that. And I told my husband a few years ago, I've never swam with dolphins. Like, I've never done the thing where you go and you like swim with dolphins. And I told him when I signed my first book deal, that's what I want to do. I want to go swim with dolphins to celebrate. Like, I just think it would be so fun because I've never done it. And so a couple of weeks before I went to Orlando, we pitched my book. And so we're in the process of all of that. And this feels real tender because I signed my book deal yesterday. So like to get to tell the story like today. But so I go down to like the dolphin exhibit, and I remember going when I was like 10 years old with my parents, and you could like pet the dolphins, and it was like the greatest moment of my life. And so I'm like reliving this childhood memory, and I just went down, and there's tons of people, but I just stood there and I just talked to God for like 30 minutes. I just prayed over the book. I prayed over just that he would close the wrong doors and open all the right doors, all the things. And so I asked this lady before I left if she would take a picture of me with the dolphin thing in the background. And she was so kind. And so she took the picture, and then she goes, yeah, so like, do you make sure, like, look at it and make sure it's good before I leave. And I was like, listen, I don't need to see it. Like, I do not need to see it. It's perfect. And like, you're the best. Yeah. And it just, that was the first moment though, that I really was able to be like, wait, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That was the best.
I could not love that more. That's so amazing. And here's the reason why. This is what I've told a few friends. Like, this is why this is actually life changing. This is why it's actually like world changing, is because number one, like, you step into your own freedom. You agree, like, God's made me free. I'm good. And so whatever we agree with God, good things happen. Number one, it probably changed that woman's life it actually probably changed her life that she was like,
Yeah.
why didn't you want to see the picture? Why is she so confident? I mean, this is like classic biblical, like always be ready to be prepared to have an answer for the hope that you have. Like this is classic 2021, how we show the hope that we have.
Yeah.
And then also on top of that, I believe a beautiful after effect is that women are going to start posting more realistic pictures, which is great because we're all lying all the time about how we look. And so we're going to start to be like, oh, that's what an arm is supposed to look like. An arm actually takes up space. Leg takes up a little bit of space sometimes, or maybe it doesn't. Like maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, but it's actually very beautiful for women to be different shapes and sizes. It's actually very good for women to have dimples potentially on their skin, or moles or freckles or wrinkles. All of these things are good and holy in God's sight. And so that's why it just has such residual, continual good stuff. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it matters so much. Okay, before we go over to our Patreon community, I just want you to share, you're doing all the stuff for the kingdom of God, like all the cool things. I want you to tell people, like, where can they find you? Where can they learn more about Go and Tell Gals? All the things.
You're so encouraging. So I'm Jess A. Connolly on Instagram. And if you guys follow me there, you will be some of the few people who do not think my name is Jessa. And I'll be so grateful, because it's not. It's Jess. And when people call me Jessa, I don't get mad. But just so you know, it's Jess. A is my middle initial. I couldn't get my normal name on Instagram. I'm still working on it. And Go and Tell Gals is an organization I run that equips and encourages women to take their next step in God's calling on their life. So we coach authors and speakers and podcasters and small business owners and women in ministry. And we also help licensed coaches. We help other women become coaches because we believe that that's a really cool gifting that we want to see flourish in this next season of the women of God. So you can find me on goandtellgals.com or jessconnolly.com, Jess A. Connolly on Instagram, or Go and Tell Gals as well.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, thank you for writing one of, I think, the most important books that has came out for women in such a long time. I'm so grateful for your words and the impact they've had on me. And I just can't wait for everybody to get their hands on the book. So join us over on Patreon if you do subscribe over there, and you'll get to know Jess a little bit better in our bonus interview with her. But for now, I just want to say a huge thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.